This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Brewers Outlet, and Purdy Insurance. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies, ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. And the pickle bar led by my 2 personal favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Always great to be joined by the outstanding and my good friend Neal Coolong. Sir, welcome back. Great to have you with us. There he is. Hello, sir.
You bet. You bet. How's the clubhouse going today?
The clubhouse is going great today. It's kind of wild, crazy, loose, free. You know, the way it should be. Preseason game number 1 is coming up. You can really sense the excitement in the air. But how does Mike Tomlin like to approach preseason 1? And is this a let's take a long look at Will Howard game?
I think the approach for this probably it's interesting because he's got a lot of new components on this team, offensively in particular. And while they've had ample time to work with that during training camp, and you hope set it on a path to where it would want to be by week 1, they're going to want to see some live action. They're going to want to run through probably a script, a certain amount of plays in different, varying situations to run it live and make sure they have what they need. They get really more fodder to study and to practice and tweak for the remainder of camp, however long that is nowadays. I think they probably only have a couple days after their first game. But it's important to fine-tune the details of the primary stuff that they want to accomplish. And the big thing with the Steelers' offense is we're probably going to see them focus primarily on a 12 personnel look most of the time, meaning there's going to be 2 tight ends on the field. They're probably going to be moving around quite a bit. One thing we noticed on the depth chart is they've got a fullback space, and it seems like they're keeping 3 or 4 tight ends moving into the preseason action. But the big thing will be how they utilize all of that and when they're using what in different situations. The biggest value to 12 personnel is the versatility that gives you. And by versatility, you mean pre-snap movement. You can move these guys around into different spots. The types of tight ends that they have, Jonnu Smith, probably more so than Pat Freiermuth, but with the 2 of them together, you've got receiving options, you've got blocking options, you've got perhaps even backfield options, depending on how you want to set up what you're doing. And a lot of that is going to be dependent upon what a defense is showing you. Does Aaron Rodgers have the ability to call out of certain things, to shift different things around? I think they're looking to see how the communication is handled by the players who are out there and different players coming in different spots and how they might respond to that in a regular season game. Very different looking offense, I think, than what they've had in the past, and that's obviously by design. This is what they've structured themselves to do. It'll be interesting to see who's where, but probably more than anything, what they're going to do pre-snap, how much movement there's going to be, and what that leads to, because really the movement doesn't have to suggest run or pass. There's lots of different things that they can do depending on what a defense wants to show them. Now, you're probably only going to get, depending on how many plays they would script, I mean, if it's 10, You might get 2 series out of him every now and again in the past. He's gone more than that if it hasn't been, quite the results that he would have wanted. But probably have 2 series at the most would be my guess. And with that, they just kind of want to look at the details of how guys are responding to what's called, how they're moving, and how crisply they can execute that.
Yeah, that'll be obviously a big part of it for them. What's interesting is I've read or seen enough interviews with Aaron Rodgers to tell that he has an immense respect for Mike Tomlin. Tomlin's kind of had to run through a couple of quarterbacks since Roethlisberger. How important is it for Tomlin that there is this mutual respect?
I think it's funny. I remember talking back in the day, the immediate post-Roethlisberger era, kind of analyzing what Mike Tomlin's history is like with backup quarterbacks. By and large, it was these short spells, injury replacements, those kinds of things, and that's not the same thing as getting a new quarterback and how much rope you're going to give them. It turns out Tomlin has one of the quicker hooks of any coach in the league as far as their quarterback is concerned. And with that, we have seen clearly a very strong priority on veteran quarterbacks. They've gone after those in free agency, which isn't a surprise. I would think most teams would want to do that. But
sure.
He's looking for guys who are experienced in the sense that they've drafted one quarterback in the first round, gave him, I don't want to say a long leash, but he was absolutely not going to start going into the season. They had signed a veteran quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, to start right away, replaced him fairly early on in the year with Kenny Pickett, who lasted the whole season. But the next season, whether Pickett was hurt, the consternation between the debate that led to the end of the Kenny Pickett era in Pittsburgh kind of suggests there was an issue there. And I think that Tomlin has something of a low level of patience, judging by his track record with quarterbacks, not Ben Roethlisberger quarterbacks, to this point, to say he's going to value the experience that Aaron Rodgers brings, how much latitude Rodgers is bringing, in my opinion, should speak to the fact that you wanted him as badly as you did. You waited as long as you did to get him. And the mutual respect, I think, that is shown between them kind of suggests Rodgers' role is to come in here and be the starter for 17 games. He's not going to be challenged, barring injury like we saw last season, but Wilson wasn't challenged either when he came back healthy. I think with Rodgers, you have a more dynamic quarterback in a lot of ways, and I think Tomlin's going to want him to weigh in, to have say over what they're doing. And it gets back to what I was saying before about pre-snap motion. With that, a lot of times quarterbacks go into the huddle with 3 plays. They're motioning a guy to take a look at what a defense is going to do, how they're reacting to it. You can identify man versus zone when they're doing that. Does this guy move at all? Does the defensive end come inside? Do they have any kind of adjustment based on the strength of the formation changing? Those kinds of things are important, and the smart quarterbacks know what's coming, and they know how to adjust if they're given the ability to do it, adjust the play call based on that movement that takes place. Rodgers is smart enough to be able to do that. Probably one of the smartest quarterbacks the game has ever seen. He knows how to dissect the defense. My guess would be Tomlin wants that presence. He wants somebody that can be better than the play call. And that's not a shot at Arthur Smith. It's just the best quarterbacks are the ones that are able to adapt the live situation, to have the ability to make something positive out of what was called, because something unpredictable may have happened, or they spot something within a defense that they see pre-snap. So very important for Tomlin would be to have somebody that can direct a lot of that to make up for what's, generally speaking, not exactly the greatest set of skill position players they're going to have in the NFL. They're going to have to outsmart a lot of people. They're going to have to outmaneuver them within the chess game that is offense versus defense. And Rodgers is probably going to be one of the best in the game when it comes to that. Even with diminishing physical skills, he's going to be able to pick apart what a defense is trying to do before each play. I think that's the biggest thing Tomlin would have wanted, considering the situation that they were in without a quarterback last season, off season.
Neal, how interested are you to see how Caleb Johnson fits in with this? I liked what he did a lot at Iowa. I'm interested to see if that game translates for him into the NFL.
Yeah, the younger running backs really kind of comes down to two things, and it oftentimes seen as the most simple transition from college to the pros, because I think it's just kind of plain and obvious. It's not that it's easy for the player; it's just your end goal is pretty clear. Do you have the vision as well as the quickness to adapt to the speed of the NFL? You don't have holes to run through. You've got a crease that's there for about half a second. You have to anticipate it. You don't see it and then hit it in a power or a gap scheme, which the Steelers are going to run a fair amount of. Inside zone largely is like that as well. You're going to find a crease and you're going to go there, but you need to be able to anticipate where that's going to go. That requires a higher level of study, a higher level of preparation. It really just comes down to vision. And I'm not trying to make a joke or rip on Najee Harris or anything. I said this for a long time. I don't think that Najee Harris has elite level vision for a zone scheme, which is what the Steelers really wanted him to run. It turned out that Jaylen Warren was a lot better at that than Harris was, and we saw the results. The Steelers got Johnson because I think I would agree with the Steelers if this is their thinking as well. He's a good complete back. I think he can run in a lot of different schemes, and we saw that at Iowa. That's why you get a lot of Iowa offensive linemen as well as tight ends that get drafted, largely because they're so scheme versatile. They do a lot of different things within their run game. A lot of these guys are very well prepared when they come into the NFL. I think Johnson is similar to that. He's not a physical freak, which is why he lasted until the third round, but he has very good vision. He's a good all-around back. The main question is going to be, this is the second part of it, how good is his pass protection? The power and the speed, the recognition that you need to not get the quarterback killed is very important. You got to put that guy on an island. All of a sudden he's got to be an offensive tackle with a blitzer who's got, in some cases, a 4-yard running head start without having been touched. That's a tough thing to pick up, and it's not just about the physical brawn, though that is important. You get a guy 5 years in an NFL fitness and conditioning program, he's going to be stronger than the rookie who's just coming out. It's more identifying it, knowing where to be, when to be there, so at the very least you can throw your body in front of the guy and try to slow him down. Rookies don't necessarily always have that, and I think that's going to be a big thing with Johnson working forward. But on a play-to-play basis, I think he's a guy that can run zone in an effective manner. But he is also able to run gap, which means the Steelers don't have to give away what they're doing when they come onto the field, which I think was often an issue with the run game last year. Between Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, you had a pretty good sense of who was going to run what. I think Johnson gives them a more versatile option when it comes to that. But let's keep in mind, too, he's a rookie. I don't necessarily know he's going to get 15 carries in week one, but it'll be good to see how he adjusts to what they're asking him to do and how he's able to do things other than just run the ball. That's receiving as well as pass protection, identifying blitzes, knowing where a defense is going, things like that. It's good to see a running back that can pick up on the awareness part of the game as they go and as they grow as a player.
Yeah. You look at the defense. Now we know Watt's back in the whole deal. So what do you want to look for with this defense, Neal, as to how they want to play? They have not quite the same personnel, especially in the secondary, but can that make them better because they did change the personnel?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I would say it's almost not the opposite per se, but they have the personnel that they want to run the scheme that they're looking to continue. I don't think their defensive scheme is going to change the way that their offensive scheme will this season. I think they brought in players that can do this scheme, or at least, presumably that's what they want. They changed out basically 2 starting cornerbacks. Keep that in mind, and added big-name veterans to those spots. I'm scratching my head. I don't even remember who was the other cornerbacks that they started last year, but I know they had Beanie Bishop on the inside, Jalen Ramsey looks like he's going to fill more of that role this season. Dante Jackson was the starter last season. Now they got Darius Slay on the outside. And you've lost Minka Fitzpatrick, and you're adding whoever it is that you're going to add the other safety. They're going to have 5 defensive backs on the field most snaps. We know that. That's the way they've been playing. They've even gone as far as to list a nickel back on their depth chart right now. I know the depth chart doesn't mean absolutely everything, but it does say something that we want to get Jalen Ramsey's name in this to show that he's going to be a prominent member of this defense. And, the role that he's probably better suited for is in a big front that you're looking to run stop. In other words, early down fronts with 5 defensive backs. Ramsey's going to be playing nickel, which means really over the tight end. He's going to be around the line of scrimmage. I think you're going to see him attacking a lot more and picking up what's coming out of the backfield. Now, if you're doing that, more than likely it means you're asking that player to play in man. And you're only doing that if it's man behind you. So really, you can kind of connect the dots and see this is a team that wants to continue playing a lot of man coverage, which they have in recent years. I just think they have the best personnel for it now overall than they have. And I think a big part of that is the reason why they made the trade of Minka Fitzpatrick. What they have with Deshaun Elliott now is probably all around a more versatile player. Elliott lined up everywhere last season, something that didn't get a whole lot of credit. I feel he had a Pro Bowl level season playing inside and out. It makes basically a package of 10, 11, or 11, 12, 13 players on defense that can play a multitude of packages. They can line up different guys in different spots. It's not going to be as scheme-specific as it's been in the past. And the fluidity of man coverage kind of speaks to that. They brought in players that could do that. It makes them more versatile to go up against today's ever-changing versatility on offense. A lot of different weapons, a lot of different players playing specialty package football. The Steelers can do that with the assortment of players that they have, but not have to rely on depth. They can play against hurry-up offenses, considering these guys don't have to leave the field. They can move Elliott up or down however they want to do that. They can do the same thing with Ramsey and maintain man coverage based on whatever the offense wants to do. So I think they had a smart offseason defensively. I'm not saying that these are all pro-level guys, but they got guys that can play that style of football probably better than they have in the past.
It makes a big difference because part of this is going to be the 2 coordinators, as far as I'm concerned, adapting to their personnel as to what they can and can't do.
Yeah, doesn't it kind of seem like it seems like the Steelers have finally put together personnel that makes more sense for what they're trying to do, and not in a vague, ambiguous way. Jonnu Smith is really a 12 personnel tight end. He's not a single guy. Really, he's going to be most effective as a receiver coming from the inside who can also set an edge. Not physically as much as he's quick off the snap. He can get across the face of whoever is there and lead an outside zone rush. He can collapse down inside for inside zone as well. But his highest and best use is a short space receiver. And I think that's really what their offense is set up to do. When you got a big body like Metcalf that you can get the ball in a deep post, Calvin Austin's a good deep receiver, a 15-yard plus a catch type of guy. But the bulk of what they're going to do is going to be inside. High percentage throws, quarterbacks getting rid of the ball quickly, limiting turnovers, and trying to make their ground game be their meal ticket for the year. Offensively, they have that set up, and defensively, I feel they brought in guys specific to a scheme that they're trying to run. Nothing against Dante Jackson. I'm not saying he was the worst player in the world, but he's fairly ambiguous. What's he going to do? Zone man? I don't know if he has a specialty. I don't know if he's good enough to say it's definitely this or that. You bring in Jalen Ramsey, you're going to play man. He's too big not to. He has the size to match up in man with cornerbacks, which the Steelers have not been able to do for however long. They tend to get the smaller outside types of corners, but obviously drafting Joey Porter, bigger corner, longer, more physical, that's an effort to move into man. And it seems to me that they brought in guys that can do that and then are now backing them up with versatile defenders. Elliott is a great example of that. Peyton Wilson, I think, is a guy that you're going to see be among the better pass coverage linebackers in the league this year. You have Cole Holcomb back, who's a run-supporting type of guy, to kind of add to the depth of the whole unit. But they can do more in the scheme that they're trying to do based on the off-season acquisitions, not just the draft, but in free agency. They were aggressive in trades this year. They're really trying to build something specific for those coordinators, which could be Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin. You may as well call them both that. But Arthur Smith on offense has an Arthur Smith type personnel list in front of him now, and they did not have that last season. So I think you're going to see more continuity there with players who were designed specifically to do what Arthur Smith wants to do with them.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
The great Neal Coolong, brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Now featuring ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon Jack Daniel's Crown Royal. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai. Thrilled with my buying experience there and with the financing. Couldn't have worked out any better. Customer service means everything to them. And they also have a great track record with pre-owned inventory. They go over each one, giving it the Sunbury Motors guarantee. And a terrific service department, quick lane inspections routine difficult. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. In case you missed it, and based on the ratings you have, the IndyCar season is continuing.
I have to admit, I'm a little so-so with IndyCar season this year.
And why would that be IndyCar fan? listen, they had a really entertaining Indianapolis 500. They had a very entertaining oval race about a month or so later. I'm trying to think if it was Iowa. I think it was Iowa. And we're back to street courses again. It's like, I don't mind the mix, but I liked it when it was 50-50 or thereabouts. I mean, they had the two trophies. They had the Mario Andretti Trophy for the winner of the most oval races and the points in the oval races. Then you had the road course, and then you had the overall winner. At least that was entertaining. There's just not enough ovals. And I know that's something that you've been saying for years, and I think it's gotten worse instead of better.
Oh, so you're going to admit I'm right?
No, yeah. I said I think it's gotten worse instead of better.
No, but you're admitting I'm right. They should do more ovals.
I never denied that they should do more ovals.
Two-thirds of the races should be ovals.
I think it should be half.
No, I think it should be 2/3. I think people want to see speed.
Well, I'm willing to go to half, is what I'm saying. I mean, that's still an improvement from where we're at right now.
Now they may not have enough ovals to race on. I don't know. Maybe they don't want them.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the best ones to race on that is not a super speedway is Milwaukee. That is going to be an entertaining race. You want to see passing, there'll be a lot of that going on. That's a mile track. It is fast. It is constantly you're constantly turning. That's going to be entertaining.
Look, just make 800 successful left turns and make us happy.
Now, I like some of the road courses. I mean, I think Road America is a great track. That's a fantastic track. There's a lot of great speed. There's a lot of great straightaways there. You know, I'm so with the Monterey race, but I know that's one that's been a staple for them. Mid-Ohio, you can't get rid of Mid-Ohio because basically that's the only time they come to the East Coast anymore.
Yeah.
But the Detroit, I don't like the new Detroit. Put it back out in Belle Isle. That was more entertaining. But and Long Beach is one that you have to have. That's a legacy. But there's just not. And I am so glad that Thermal is going away.
2 out of 3 races should be on ovals.
I'd be fine with that.
Put it to the floor and race.
Now, I think NASCAR has the right idea by adding more road courses. The problem is they really don't have anybody competitive besides SVG. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you have, I think they're at Watkins Glen this weekend. Now you watch. He'll start driving away with things.
Okay. I'm not going to watch.
No, you won't.
No.
But there will be a lot of people along 11 and 15 here in this area will line up.
I have been to the Watkins Glen track. I've been there.
Why don't they run the boot in NASCAR? Is it too steep?
No.
I actually, was it 2 years ago? I actually went up there for the first time, and of course, unfortunately, the track was closed, so I couldn't get in. But I drove around the areas that you could access it from the road, and I got down to the boot, and I was surprised at how much of an elevation change it is there.
Sure.
And it comes right out of the bus stop, and then you go down into the heel of the boot, then come into the toe. And I did know a guy who drove BMWs there, and still does actually. And I said to him, I said, how hard is that? He goes, if you don't line yourself up for the heel, he said, you might as well forget the toe because you're never going to make it up the hill.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, that's a road course that I wouldn't mind seeing come back to IndyCar.
Meanwhile, your Phillies are playing really well. They've been fun to watch.
And that's what's keeping me going. That's what's keeping me going. I mean, the pitching has been fantastic.
I was counting on oxygen, but okay, whatever.
That is my oxygen in the summer.
They're playing great. They made a great pickup in Duran.
Oh, it was brilliant. After a terrible off-season of pickups, that one almost made it better. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't, and I thought Hader's a good choice for the outfield too. He's got a good glove. He's got some pop if he gets it back.
Well, you know, he played for the Spikes, so I know Harrison.
I know you know him well.
Yeah. Well, not well. I know him.
Well,
so yeah,
I think he was a very good acquisition. You had to give up a little bit to get him. So Abel leaving, I'm like, I understand that.
Yeah.
Because you don't have another year if you're Philadelphia.
Their window is beginning to close. I mean, I'm talking once they get to the off season,
right?
That window's beginning to close with the age of the team, the contracts. There's a lot that you have to take a long, hard look at. Dave Dombrowski, I think he's been great everywhere he's gone. I don't care whether it's been Boston, Detroit, Philadelphia. I think Nashville's in a great spot because he helped organize that expansion franchise. But that is, I think he's given them the best chance to win. Harper's got, 7 home runs since the All-Star game? Schwarber's killing the ball since the All-Star game.
He's just unreal.
And they're going to get Alec Boehm back.
I remember you said something to me when he was playing in A-ball and you were seeing him. You felt that his height was going to be a disadvantage at third base.
Except, to his credit, I think he's overcome it. I think
that's what I mean.
I was concerned about his flexibility.
Flexibility, that's what it was.
And because I thought he was too stiff the way he played. Now you see him and he gets down on the ball really well. I mean, so it's just something that, I don't know how many games did I see him play in person, a half dozen, 10 games. I mean, I think maybe 10 games I saw him play. And I mean, that was my concern because, there are a couple of balls it's like, why didn't he get down on that ball? That doesn't mean you can't improve over time, and he has dramatically improved over time. He's become, I think, actually not the best, but he's become a good third baseman, very good, in fact. So I like him a lot. Turner's having a good year. Stott's doing well. Realmuto is one of the better catchers in the entire game. You've got an absolute number one in Wheeler. Sanchez pitched another beautiful game the other night. Suarez has been excellent. Now the question's going to be, can you get something out of Aaron Nola?
Well, he goes to Lehigh Valley, I think, this week.
Yeah. And it would be nice to see if they can get something out of him because he has had some good postseason moments. Very good postseason moments. And he's been there. He's done that. He's pitched in the World Series, pitched in the National League Championship Series. Can't put a price on that kind of experience. And he has that. It's a nice ball club. It's just, no getting around it. It's a really nice ball club. And I would say right now, in part because of Wheeler, that I think they would be the favorite in any series, including the Dodgers, that they play.
I think the only issue that the Phillies really have right now is if they can't get the starting pitching into the 6th or 7th inning, especially the 6th. But as far as the 7th, they're okay with the setups now, and they have the closer that they've been looking for. But if you don't get it to the setup, you're in trouble. You don't know what you're going to have.
Nobody.
Yeah,
but nobody does.
No,
seriously. Nobody does.
That may be true.
The Yankees don't know who they have. Red Sox don't know who they have. The Dodgers don't know who they have. They're just every single night. It's when you get to the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, every single team is out there, right, rolling the dice that the guy they put out there can keep things at bay. My goodness, the Red Sox had an 8-1 lead last night on Kansas City, so they put a guy in last night that was one of those make-or-break nights for him, Akala. In other words, he has not been pitching well. So with an 8-1 lead, they wanted to, okay, let's see if he's still got enough to stay with us or whether he's going to be going someplace. Okay? Well, it turns out that, he didn't have it. 4 runs later, it's 8-5, and Wilyer Abreu had to throw a guy out at home plate to end the inning. They then brought in Whitlock, who we already know is a major league pitcher, and they brought in Chapman to close, and that was it. If Akala is still with the franchise this afternoon, I'd be surprised because, again, it was a make-or-break moment. I'm not being cruel. It's just one of those make-or-break moments. Do you step down or, send him down or, keep him there for giggles?
It's interesting to be a Phillies fan right now, and I've talked to several of them, and we're all kind of like in the same situation. We're complaining about, when we do complain, we're complaining about a team who is right now, leading or in second in the division, depending on the day, that probably has one of the most potent lineups, although they have been known to be very inconsistent. And the best thing that we can come up with a complaint is Jesus Luzardo not really performing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's not awful. He just has been awful at times.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, look, you have 26 guys. All 26 are not going to be able to perform at a high level. You need to have 2/3 of them performing at a high level, and the 1/3 that's not performing at a high level better not be a key spot.
I would like to see Topper, though, get a little bit more, make a little bit the pitching decisions from the gut more than the analytics. I think sometimes he plays a little bit too much the percentages, righty versus lefty. We got to have this guy in because he hits this pitching better, but then, he's going to be in the outfield, so we have to move this guy around. Sometimes I think, I mean, again, I'm complaining about success here. I do realize that, but sometimes I think he spends too much time in the analytics and just doesn't go by his gut.
Yeah. Maybe he uses analytics as an excuse, and the reality is he actually is at times using his gut.
Maybe.
How about that?
Maybe. That's something that I hadn't really thought about. But again, complaining about a team that is playing very well and very competitive in August. That hasn't happened a whole lot in the last decade and a half.
No, they're playing really well, and I think right now, and it's only August the 5th, but to me, they're the favorite to win the whole thing. There's nobody in the American League that is good enough.
I thought the Tigers might be close.
Tigers have been slumping.
Right.
Now, in a short series, they've got the guy. In a short series, they've got the guy. Because they got Skubal. Great pitcher. Penn State football. Acclimation. 5 acclimation practices are over with. Full pads tonight. And, in fact, they're going to go into Beaver Stadium for the first time tonight. And Big Ten Network is going to be here today. This will be the one where Dave Refson, Howard Griffith, and Jerry DiNardo will be here. And they'll get an opportunity to sit down with James, sit down with key players, talk about what they think of Penn State to this point. They will be here, and the practice will be this evening in Beaver Stadium. It'll be the first time they've been in the stadium this preseason. They're going to go in a couple more times, but tonight's the first time they've done it in this preseason. And that's where they are. To their credit, they've been stacking days. And that's what you need. That's what you need. You can't take care of any games now. The only thing you can do is try and make the next practice better than the previous one. Have they been doing that? It looks like they have been. Now, it's still early. This is only practice number 6 tonight out of 25. So you've got a ways to go, but you are hitting the quarter pole just about of those 25 practices. And, yeah.
What's does the, I don't know, this sounds kind of cliche, but you've been around the team a little bit, do they have kind of an unfinished feel to them? Do they feel that last season just they could have done a little bit better? They felt unfinished with the final the final run?
Well, believe me, after the game against Notre Dame, it wasn't one of those, yeah, look how far we went. That locker room had anger in it. That locker room had tears in it because Jack and I went into the locker room. And that's the mere fact that players are coming back, the players that came back, it tells you about some NIL commitment. It also talks about the commitment you're talking about. But once it comes time to get to work, you get to work. And to me, it's not about like, oh, well, look what happened. You're trying to make today better than yesterday. You're not really thinking about the Notre Dame game. And once you get to the playoffs and you get to the same spot, say you're fortunate enough to get to the same spot, you're going to be saying to yourself, I don't want to have.
I don't want that feeling again.
Yeah. But you've got to get to that spot first. So you've got to take care of week by week.
Well, and it's not like it used to be either. And we talked about this years ago when they had first started talking about the playoff situation. Now, you don't have to be perfect all through the season to have a chance.
Well, look at Ohio State. They lost to Oregon and Michigan last year, and they won the national title. I mean, you have to be good enough to be one of the 12, and then you have to get hot once you get in. So, I mean, now you got to get there first, and that's what the regular season's about, getting yourself there.
Yeah, this team is veteran enough to not look past anybody and to know better.
Well, in other words, when James Franklin, and I always love when the immature of the world make proclamation, I hate the 1-0 thing. That you're trying to, that is something that it's an internal thing. Okay? That's an internal thing. Where you're getting your players to believe that 1-0 is the whole deal. You're not playing Oregon this week. 1-0 is the deal. You're not playing Iowa this week. 1-0 is the deal. You're not playing Ohio State this week. You can only take care of what's in front of you. That's an internal mantra. And when you have veterans who have lived it and felt the success of the cultural philosophy, they buy in and they can tell the younger players that it works.
No, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when you're at practice, Steve, you're not worried about the game the following weekend.
I'm not worried about the game. I'm not worried about.
Well, I'm saying, I'm saying you're looking at the game that's coming up. You're not looking at the game that's down the road. That's the big game on the schedule.
Right. Sunday night. Sunday I'm working on the next game. That's the only game I think about all week until I'm done with the one on Saturday. I never think about the next game.
To me, that's what the 1-0 means that he's been talking about.
Yeah. Never even think about it. Like, it just doesn't, and that's why anytime like I've had a fan, I sit there and go, I said, well, which game do you think I'm doing on Saturday? Huh? I said, I can't do the Ohio State game this week. I know you want to have Ohio State this week. I said, but you don't. I said, it's whomever's in front of you. And look, as Notre Dame found out last year, anybody is a threat. Northern Illinois became a threat, beat them.
Exactly.
Right? And that's an example to everybody. Now, I know it's a long time ago now, 2008, but Appalachian State walked in opening day and beat Michigan. So,
I was actually in Beaver Stadium that day when they put it on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you, who was it? It was Florida State.
I think they were playing Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State beat them. They're like, oh, can you believe this? Hey, guys, that's why you do the 1-0 thing. Okay? That's why. It's crazy. You know? Yeah, and the fact that there's a tiny segment of the fan base. It's like that's not the reality of what's going on here. That's not the reality of what's going on here. You can't sit there and go, hey, you're a player. You got to play who's in front of you. I don't know. Some of these things I go to and I'll get questions. 98% of the questions are really good. And they'll be the 2% where I'll be standing there thinking, make sure you're polite when you answer.
Be nice. Be nice.
Okay? Make sure you're very polite when you answer. Okay? This person is not the brightest bulb in the room. Just be nice.
You never had that thought when I asked questions.
Looking forward to the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.